I want to call the meeting to order for the January 16th meeting. If we can ask Jimmy Andrews to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you again for such a blessed day. Lord, we just thank you for all the love that you have for each one of us. God, as we come to you tonight, Lord, we pray for our guidance and leadership, Lord, in our lives. Lord, that we would always be followers of you, Lord, and that our light would shine to a world, Lord, that needs to see you most of all. God, I pray today, Lord, that you would continually have your hand upon all these that are here today, Lord, the ones that are our elected officials. God, I pray that you will guide their thoughts and their minds as they make decisions, Lord. And Father, I pray for every employee of the city, Lord, that you would always continue to be with them, Lord, that you would just help them as they go through their walks of life. And Lord, we just thank you again, Lord, for this community, Lord, a community that we love, that we grew up in, Lord, one that, Lord, I think is the best in the world. Father, I pray, God, you would continue to bless our nation, bless the area that we live in, and always be there, Lord, whenever we're in need. Lord, I know you will. Father, I pray tonight, God, Lord, go with us tonight through this meeting. Lord, all these things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jimmy. If everybody can for the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda for tonight, I'd like to recommend that we add, that we strike item 7, new business, Cumming Fair Board. This kind of got rolled into old business. But I have a motion that we remove item 7.
So moved.
Yeah. Have a second.
Second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Need consideration for adopting the minutes for the regular meeting of December the 19th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. And also to adopt the meeting minutes for the special called meeting of January 9th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, old business, noise ordinance. Kevin Talent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the noise ordinance we presented to you last week at your work session. We did have a small change to the noise ordinance to remove some restrictions regarding apartment complexes. They have their own rules internally that they use to enforce noise issues. Other than that, the noise ordinance remains unchanged from the draft that we presented to you. I'll be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions?
Are the changes already in here?
Changes are, you have.
I'll make a motion to approve the noise ordinance as presented.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is planning and zoning code enforcement ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, first we need to do the Cumming Fair Authority.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's too many changes from earlier. Item 2, Cumming Fair Authority.
The Cumming Fair Authority ordinance that was prepared for you accomplishes the items that the council wanted to see. We dissolved the Cumming Fair Authority. In so doing, we've specifically provided that all of the property and the assets and the money and everything else that's in the possession of the Fair Authority comes back to the city of Cumming. We also provided for the creation of a fair board within that same ordinance. The creation of the fair board is something that you don't have to appoint members to tonight, but we set it up so you can have at least 5, as many as 20 members. Those members of the fair board will serve in a recommending capacity to you. Nothing they do is binding upon you. They can just serve to make recommendations with respect to the fair itself. So not the entire fairground, but with respect to the 10 days of the fair that we currently have in October. They serve at your pleasure, so if anything happens and you're dissatisfied or you think somebody is doing the wrong thing, you can remove them. Happy to answer any questions you have about that one as well.
Any questions? I have a motion to pass the ordinance.
I'll make a motion that we pass the ordinance to dissolve the Cumming Fair Authority.
Second that.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is planning and zoning, code enforcement ordinance.
I promise at some point I'll stop jumping up all night long. The code enforcement ordinance is before you. It is the same as what you looked at last week, with the one exception being we took out the code enforcement board. So everything will be returned to the municipal court, which you already have up and running, in case there are any ordinance violations or alleged ordinance violations. That's where they'll be returned to. We also did put in, to kind of make your agenda move a little faster, that John Kaufman will be serving as your initial code enforcement officer. Your code enforcement officer, a lot like your fair board members, serve at the pleasure of the city, at the pleasure of the city council, so you have the power to remove and replace at any point. Happy to answer any questions you have about this one as well.
And John's certified, went to school certified in code enforcement.
And he's also a post-certified law enforcement officer in addition.
Correct.
That's not required to be a code enforcement officer, but John happens to be, was post-certified law enforcement officer.
I think he's well qualified to do it. Does anybody have any questions?
Make a motion to appoint.
And also pass the ordinance.
A second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. So at this point, we're going to swear John in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council.
I need to come down there, or
You can do it from there if you want to, or you can come down.
we'll just do it from here for speed. If you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will well and truly perform
that I will well and truly perform
my duties as code enforcement officer
my duties as code enforcement officer
of the city of Cumming,
of the city of Cumming,
and that I will faithfully enforce the ordinances
and that I will faithfully enforce the ordinances
of said city to the best of my ability,
of said city to the best of my ability,
without fear or failure,
without fear or failure,
in all actions as code enforcement officer,
in all actions as code enforcement officer,
act as I believe for the best interest of the city.
act as I believe for the best interest of the city.
I do further swear
I do further swear
that I am not the holder
that I am not the holder
of any unaccounted for public money
of any unaccounted for public money
due this state
due this state
or any political subdivision
or any political subdivision
or authority thereof,
or authority thereof,
and that I am not the holder
and that I am not the holder
of any office of trust
of any office of trust
under the government of the United States,
under the government of the United States,
any other state,
any other state,
or any foreign state,
or any foreign state,
which I am by the laws of the state of Georgia
which I am by the laws of the state of Georgia
prohibited from holding,
prohibited from holding,
that I am otherwise qualified
that I am otherwise qualified
to be a code enforcement officer
to be a code enforcement officer
according to the Code of Cumming, Georgia,
according to the Code of Cumming, Georgia,
as well as the Constitution and laws of Georgia,
as well as the Constitution and laws of Georgia,
and that as the recipient of public funds for my service,
and that as the recipient of public funds for my service,
I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States and of this state.
of the United States and of this state.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council. Okay.
I want to get a picture with John. Linda, you get a picture with John? No?
Sure.
And do them all?
Yeah.
Come on, Luke.
Wake up.
We want a picture with you.
Thank you, sir. I know John will do us a fine job. Next item is C, utilities, the Mobilite contract.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, this is the agreement that we discussed last week at your work session that provided the entire agreement for you. The revisions in this are what we discussed last week, reducing the term from 20 years to 10 years, and then the fees being at $13.50 per new pole, $500 for each co-location. There's a 3% escalation annually for the charges for the new pole. I realize this is a pretty long agreement. It's fairly dense. I don't know if you have any questions for me about this one or not. Happy to answer them if you do.
Any questions?
That version I've written, or read.
Why don't you come present on this one? You can, you've read it probably as much as I have.
Do we have a motion to execute the mobility contract?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. New business. Item 2, request to advertise for bid professional services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you recall, last month, we came before you to reappoint our professional service providers. This month, we come before you to ask permission to advertise for bids on those services. The current list of our providers is included in your council packets.
Does anybody have any questions? We have a motion to advertise for bid the professional services.
So moved.
I'll second.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, request to advertise for bid the demand services contractors.
Yes, sir. This is the, like the previous item, last month we came before you to get approval on our list of demand service providers. This month, of course, we're coming back before you again to ask for permission to bid these services out. And the attached list is in your council packet of our providers.
And these are the typically emergency type
Yes,
services?
these are ones, if we have a situation come up that we don't have time to go through the normal bid process, these are contractors we can use.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to advertise for bids for demand services contractors.
Let's second it.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks.
Item B, planning and zoning, alcohol license for Buddha Original at 170 Tri-County Plaza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council. Our applicant, Mr. Mi Jing, purchased Lee's Golden Buddha, which is a long-standing restaurant here in Forsyth County. City annexed it a few years ago. He purchased it about 9 months ago. At the time that he purchased it, they did not serve alcohol and hadn't since the city annexed them. But he would like to now apply to serve wine and malt beverage in his restaurant. He's passed the background check and submitted all the funds necessary for the license.
Any-
John, do y'all give them are they given an ordinance and required to read over our?
Oh, yes, sir.
our rules?
That's actually in our ordinance that we supply them with a copy of it and direct them to read it and go by it.
Any other questions? I have a motion that we approve.
I make a motion that we approve the license for Buddha Original.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you,
Thank you, Mr.
John.
Mayor, Council.
Item C, Recreation and Parks, Mr. Matt Payne.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In lieu of Greg Little, who couldn't be here tonight, our director. As you'll have in your packet, we received bids for our youth basketball jerseys for the 2018 youth basketball program. We solicited bids from 8 different companies and we received 3 back, being Done Right Sports Apparel, Crown Sports in Decatur, Max Worldwide out of Oregon, which does have a Cumming distributor. The Recreation Department recommends a low bid from Crown Sports at $875 a jersey, $13,125 total.
I'll make a motion, we accept the low bid from Crown Sports.
I have a question. Have you ever used them before?
Yes, ma'am, we did use those guys last year, and obviously they're quite a bit cheaper, so that left us with some major questions.
Thank you.
And they answered all of our questions and did wonderfully, so we would love to have them
Jerseys were
back.
good quality.
Yes, yes, sir.
Second to move.
Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Matt. Announcements, upcoming shows at the Playhouse. Harpeth Rising, so the best local band in Nashville will be there January the 20th at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Southern Sirens by Georgia playwright Alicia Croxton Dutton will be there February the 8th through the 25th at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, Fridays and Saturdays, and 3 p.m. on Sundays. We don't have any further announcements. I hear a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Please vote.
Beat the snow.
Everybody beat the snow, that's right.